Tell something about your organization, how it started, what does it do?
Absolutely. So we are from Museum Hack. We think museums are fucking awesome. And our job is to convince everybody that museums are effing awesome, and that we're especially targeting people who think they hate museums. So we started about 10 years ago. This gentleman called Nick Gray was the founder of the company, and he didn't like museums. No, wasn't a big fan. Until he was invited on a date to the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City. And this woman who he was going on a date with took him around, showed him all this cool stuff, and really opened his eyes to what a museum experience could be. And he fell in love with the museum. So he started going back on his own, researching things, giving tours, inviting friends to kind of experience the museum in this new way he was experiencing it. And kind of from that, Museum Hack was born. More and more people wanted to be with Nick and his unusual touring style, and he decided that this was something that was needed, something that was needed in the museum world.
So, which techniques do you use when it comes to introducing people to your one-of-a-kind experiences?
Oh, Ali, how do you do it?
How do I do it? So when it comes to introducing people to Museum Hack, the first thing that they're going to do is see our website, where we have all of our branding. Museums are fucking awesome, so they know what they're getting themselves into when they sign up for one of our tours. And we use the 4 pillars of audience engagement to keep our tours interesting, to keep our tours connecting with people, and to really make them accessible to all sorts of audiences.
The 4 pillars that really help cement a Museum Hack experience, first of all, start with passion. People love hearing stories about things people care about. Stories are really important. Stories hack your brain. Stories create oxytocin in your brain, which is the bonding chemical that mothers experience when they hold their child. So it's pretty powerful, and if stories are doing that, they must be a pretty powerful way to communicate.
Yes.
Second pillar is
irreverence. We're checking in with each other. Second pillar is reverent irreverence, and that means that we want museums to be taken off the pedestal, which basically means making them accessible, challenging that traditional museum experience that people associate with museums in order to appeal to a larger, more modern audience when it comes to the content that the tour guide is sharing. So we want to respect the institution. We love these institutions, but we want to allow people to experience them in a way that really connects.
Absolutely. Our third pillar is make it a social experience. So people love connecting, people love doing things together, and they have a lot of choices when they want to get social, when they want to meet new people, when they want to hang out with their friends. And we want museums to be one of those choices. Like, we want it to be the top choice. So we look for ways to get people interacting, and we do that by playing games, by starting conversations, by even doing things like having scavenger hunts. We absolutely make people take pictures of butts on our tours because it's a fun social experience to do together.
Yeah, people make 35,000 decisions every day, and we want visiting the museum to be one of them.
Absolutely.
And then our 4th pillar is creating a VIP experience. We want every person to feel like a very important person on our tours. We want everyone to feel special. We want everyone to feel like they're getting insider information and like everyone is able to see a special side of the museum that maybe isn't available if you aren't on one of our tours or in a museum that's been quote-unquote hacked. And we also want to think about populations that have been underserved by the traditional museum experience, like visitors who are living with low vision or vision impairment, visitors who are living with memory loss. There's a lot of populations who can benefit from the museum experience if we just think outside the traditional museum box a little bit.
What do you think is most important when it comes to audience education or just pure fun?
We love both, but often we trick people into being educated by making them have fun. So all our renegade tour guides are what we call fun educators. We love a fact-based tour. None of our things are made up, But we also hire people who are performers, actors, comedians, opera singers, historians, filmmakers. So we know that they're getting big personalities telling wild but true stories. You can't really help but have a good time.
No, and we don't need to make anything up. Everything we say is fact, and stories are wild, humans are wild, and all the stories we tell are fact-based, so we're educating, but we're also giving people what they want, which is fun.
Which was one of your favorite tours that you guided?
Oh.
Like your love child.
My love child. So the great thing about Museum Hack is that every tour guide creates their very own tour. We create our own content. My tour is completely different from the other tour guides at the Art Institute of Chicago. And if I'm ever not happy with my tour, if I've told this story too many times, or if the research changes or anything like that, I can change it. So I aim to make every tour I give my favorite tour I've ever given, and it's great to have that kind of flexibility where I'm really encouraged to share the things that I am most passionate about, which is furniture.
Sure. My favorite tour stop that I've ever given is on yams. Like the root vegetable. Yams are fascinating. So I love yams.
Yeah, and I really love our Badass Bitches tours as well, which focus on the history of women in art or the history of the lack of women in art. So that's a themed tour that's really close to me too.
How do you manage to balance out your respect for artwork and the idea of it being knocked out of its pedestal?
I don't think those two concepts are mutually exclusive. You know how like you love your sibling, but you make fun of them? That's kind of like our relationship with museums. They're not perfect, but they are really important, they are really valuable, and I think people think that they're unchanging, but they can't be. Museums need to change, and if you don't point out the places that they need to change, or the way that they're getting elitist or, I would say stodgy, and not boring, but stodgy, then you're doing a disservice to institutions that you love.
Yeah, I think we are showing our love of museums by making these stories and spaces accessible to a wider audience. So I think it really speaks to us wanting people to visit the museum and see all of its potential by acknowledging the stories behind those spaces and objects.
What's the worst experience you ever had, like a bug in your hack?
So occasionally, well, people will be on a tour, and an outsider, somebody in the gallery, does not like the way we're running things. They don't like our shirts. They don't like our language.
They don't like fun.
They don't. They get really offended when they think we're disrespecting the art or the institution. So we've had people insert themselves into their tours in a really aggressive way. And it's our job to just kind of de-escalate, to make sure that we can move on from that we can have fun, and that the people with us are still able to maintain their interest in the tour that they're on in the institution. But it's sometimes hard to recover from those experiences. Yeah.
When it comes to museum institutions, how well do they take your approach? Do you see it like an intrusion, or is it more like an outsider's help?
We are only in spaces that want us there. So we are always in communication with the museums we're in. They know when we're running tours. They know how many people are on our tours. They generally know what we're doing, and we don't hide our vibe. Like, look at the shirts. And I think they've started to appreciate us in certain places because we serve a need that museums are often not able to serve themselves. Museums do really, really great with their official docent tours. They do really, really well with their educational department for children and younger students. But they're often having trouble with those people who don't know why they should be in a museum. They think museums are a boring place that they're not allowed to be in. So by having us there, they're potentially turning and changing some minds there. Yeah.
So what brought you to Serbia?
A plane.
Yes, a plane. Lots of planes. The U.S. Embassy invited us through the speaker program to come in partnership with the Museum of Yugoslavia during the Živa Awards to share what we've learned with professionals from Eastern Europe, Serbia, and students as well.
It's been a pleasure. It's both our first times in Serbia, and everything has been amazing. The people have been really welcoming and very open to our ideas, as strange as some of them may seem compared to the traditional way of doing things. We are kind of aggressively American, so we like audience participation. We want people to shout, we want people to ask questions, and they've been going along with it, and I really appreciate it. But we love the city, we've been having a great time.
Bryce is going to miss the cheese.
I am uniquely fond of Serbian cheese. If anybody wants to mail me some, I will accept it.
So you do like the reception of your techniques here, because you've been educating here for like 3 days?
Yeah, we've had great conversations, we've had a lot of good questions. People have been very open and receptive to what we've been saying. We appreciate it a lot.
Last question, what would you recommend to museum audience and professionals? Like in general, one word or sentence that you would say to them to get them on your
Just
side.
one sentence.
Oh my gosh, that's so much pressure.
My sentence would be, never stop being open to new ideas.
Mine was going to be the same.
We are of a like mind, Ali.
We work for the same place. Yeah, I think that sums it up. Don't be afraid of new ideas, and don't be afraid to try new things. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.